We're talking about road rallies today. Cannonball Run, Gumball 3000 Rally, Running of the Bulls, Italian Stampede, Gold Rush, and Bull Run. There are so many great rallies to choose from, and no matter which one you choose, you can expect two things: lots of fun and a speeding ticket, or two, or three. My personal record is 2 speeding tickets in 2 days.
Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Rally events seem to have evolved into a road race from a party in one city to another party in another city, and I'm okay with that. Some of these parties are super lavish affairs, and because of this, one rally charged upwards of $120,000 to participate, but that also included the price of flying your car to a couple of different continents. Private airplane just for the cars. Most rallies aren't cheap, and they have entry fees that can add up to several thousands of dollars, and that's before you take into account the travel to get there. But I'm going to show you how to attend any rally for free.
Oh my God!
Coming up right after the break. Did you know that the average driver gets 9 traffic tickets in their lifetime? Look, I'll be the first to admit that I've taken maybe a couple of liberties with traffic laws back in the day. And of course, when I got caught, I had to go to court to fight the ticket, which was always a hassle. And each time that I lost my case, it meant big fines, points on my record, and higher insurance premiums. Eventually, I realized that nothing beats having a good attorney argue your case in court. So here's what you do. You download the Off the Record app to your phone and register for an account. And if you get a ticket, simply upload a photo of your ticket into the app and you will be quickly matched with a lawyer in your jurisdiction. Your lawyer will start working your case right away, and in most cases, you'll never have to set foot in a courtroom. Off the Record has a 97% success rate and a 4.9 star rating on Google. And guess what? They even offer a money-back guarantee if they aren't able to reduce the points or keep that ticket fully off your record. Best of all, I've arranged a 10% discount for all of my YouTube viewers, so download the app and register using the referral code FASTLIFE to receive 10% off your first case. Road rallies have been around for decades, the most famous among them being the Cannonball Run. You've probably heard the name. Of course, the original Cannonball Run was an underground, illegal cross-country race put on by Brock Yates way back in the 1970s, probably before most of you were even born. It was basically a run from New York to Los Angeles at high speed, and the event was immortalized in the 1981 movie of the same name that starred an actor by the name of Burt Reynolds. That movie came out the year that I got my driver's license, and it absolutely changed my life. I swore right then and there that one day I would own a Lamborghini and I would also participate in a rally, and I kept both of those promises to myself before my 40th birthday. I attended my very first rally called the Bull Run in 2006 with Mario Andretti as my co-pilot. I was able to borrow an Audi RS4 from Audi North America. If you watch my VinWiki video on this topic, you'll know that I got pulled over with Mario Andretti in the car. That was a whole different story. What happened with Mario Andretti is we pulled out in the lead cars from New York City on a Sunday morning. We got onto the turnpike. New Jersey Turnpike, started heading south. We weren't into the rally but maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and then cops started pulling cars over at the front of the line. I think where I was the number 6 car in the line. Hayden Christensen of Star Wars was in front of me in a Ferrari. I think it was a 360 Spider or something. So we all got pulled over. When the cop came walking up to the door, he said, "Boy, who the hell do you think you are, Mario Andretti?" And I said, "I'm not, but he is." And he leans in there, and Mario Andretti was in the car. Anyway, if you want to watch that story, go on to the VinWiki episode where I tell that story. And by the way, I didn't get out of that ticket. So that was kind of a low point for the event, although the Audi performed flawlessly, and so much so that I called my Audi contact while doing about 120 miles an hour on Canada's Highway 401 and ordered one for myself. So that was my best part of that rally and that experience. But today's road rallies are not officially speed contests. But let's be real. If you put 100 plus sports cars on the road with the goal of covering long distances in a few days, because most of these rallies go from one side of the country to another one, invariably the speeds are going to creep up after a few miles. And before you know it, everybody's doing triple digit speeds despite promising themselves that, hey, I'm going to take it easy this time. It just never works out that way. A few years after I did the Bull Run, I attended another rally called the Gold Rush Rally. I actually filmed it and produced their first DVD from that event, and some of the friendships that I made during that event still endure with me to this day. And so I have very fond experiences from that event. But if you wanted to go on that rally today, here in 2021, the entrance fee this year was $19,000. I think it was about $7,500. Back then it was, I think 5 days, and this one was a 10-day event, and the price of these rallies usually includes really nice hotels. This year's event went from New York to Dallas, it went through Washington, D.C., White Sulphur Springs, Asheville, North Carolina, and I think they went to Atlanta, Memphis, New Orleans, and I think Dallas. Now, some of those cities aren't the most extravagant cities in the world or in the U.S., you could say, right? But in some of those cities, let's be honest, you wouldn't want to go outside after dark, but that's not the point. The point is the places they go to in these cities are in the good parts of the town and usually have great parties at great hotels. But if this event was going from one coast to the other coast, fine, you gotta sleep somewhere along the way. So although they didn't pick the greatest cities, and I can think of probably more luxurious routes for a 10-day tour and routes through cities that don't smell, that's pretty much the way I would do it. But you know, when you you talk about bad cities, San Francisco isn't all that great these days. People are pooping on the street in Los Angeles right now. And so Southern California, where you think would be a great place to go, some of those cities you don't want to be in after dark. For me, if I'm going on vacation, I'm taking 10 days, I want to go to some luxurious places, right? Now I get it, if you're going from New York to LA, you're going to have to stop in some cities that aren't exactly luxurious. But I can think of far more luxurious routes for a 10-day tour and routes through cities that don't smell that I would consider first. For example, San Francisco. Oops, scratch that. People in San Francisco now poop on the street. Okay, how about Los Angeles, Beverly Hills? Oops, I forget, people there poop in the street too. Or maybe San Diego. Oh crap, San Diego is still in the People's Republic of California. Basically just skip California, just forget it. You know what? And if I was doing that, I'm gonna spend 19,000 bucks, I'm going to 1,000 other places. I'm going to Phuket, Thailand, I'm going to Italy, Amalfi, I'm going to Bora Bora, whatever. So I take back everything I said about the Gold Rush route. It's better just stay out of California. If I'm going to do a car thing, I'd probably go to Bavaria, Switzerland, and Nürburgring. But hey, it's your money, your decision. But those aren't the only rallies I've done. In addition to the Bull Run and Gold Rush, I've done an event called Running of the Bulls. I've done 2 Italian Stampede events and 3 Super Street Tours. So you could say I've done rallies from the cheap end to the really high end. And while it's true that some cities aren't known for their luxurious surroundings or party places, if you've never been on a rally, no matter where you're going to go, it's going to be an amazing experience if you're going from state to state. I highly recommend doing a rally. If you have the money and you choose wisely, you can usually expect 4-star hotels, 5-star dining, and some amazing after parties. I mean, some stuff that legends are made of. And here's how it basically works. Once you get to the rally, you typically show up at the first hotel on the night before the event. Then you do your check-in at the hotel, and then you check in with the event organizers. Then your car gets stickered up with all of the event sponsor decals and so forth, and then you're pretty much set. And you spend the rest of the afternoon having maybe a couple of cocktails and start to get to meet your fellow ralliers and start to form some of those bonds that you'll probably keep throughout the rally. And generally speaking, you're going to meet 3 types of people at these events. You're going to meet partiers, you're going to meet regular participants like me, and speed demons, right? Some are there mostly for the parties, right? That's their jam. Others just want to experience the rally. And the speed demons are just looking for an excuse to test out the true top speed of their cars against the manufacturer's claims. And I'm sure there's some people there are just looking for some good footage of their cars hauling ass on public roads and maybe getting some content for their social media and YouTube channels. So there's a little all of that going on. Activities on the actual road rallies are not limited to just high-speed hooliganism, of course. The event promoters usually work in some activities during the day. Typically, they'll do something like they'll go to a drag strip and you can do some quarter-mile passes, right? That's part of the rally. Or maybe you go to an actual road racing track and go do a few laps around, say, Pocono Raceway. That kind of stuff. Or maybe like they did on, what tour was that? That was Bull Run. They had us stop at the Budweiser Brewery in St. Louis for our lunch stop. I'm not sure whose idea it was to stop at a brewery for a lunch during a rally for drivers who needed to cover 500 miles that day. But everyone seemed to restrain their drinking or basically turned over their driving duties to their co-drivers, which was probably a good idea. The nighttime parties and each day stopping point are the main attractions, of course. It's all about what you're going to do when you get to that city stop, the overnight stop. Some of these parties are exactly what you'd expect. Scantily clad women, bottle service, poolside cabanas, cigars, and a lot of bench racing. I remember going to a club in Las Vegas during Gold Rush where we basically were treated to a private bikini contest in the middle of a club. People are looking at us like, what's going on? And these nighttime stops usually include a huge after party and usually some fine dining somewhere along the way. So no matter which rally you're going to go on, there are lots of things to do, lots of things to see, and lots of trouble to get into if you catch my drift. As you can probably imagine, these events are all about hot cars and hedonism. That's basically the theme for the duration of the rally. All sounds good, right? Well, there's some bad too. For starters, invariably, you're going to find yourself speeding, and often you'll be in a group of cars who are also speeding. Some of those people should not be speeding. You're going to be dealing with people who have different levels of talent and different levels of risk assessment. And with your car all covered with the sponsored logos, you become an immediate target for every law enforcement agency in the region wherever you go. Truckers have CB radios. They call this stuff in. Everybody today has a cell phone, and you're going to constantly get hassled on the rally. On my first rally in 2006, I got pulled over twice in 2 days. The first one was with Mario Andretti, as I said. The second one was on the way to St. Louis. Even with the radar detector, I got tagged and bagged and literally had to pay the cop in cash in an envelope to stick inside his car. Literally had to pull into a Circle K gas station or whatever it was, get change for 100, get 20s, and I paid exact change. And it was crazy. I thought this was a crooked cop, but when I walked into that store, the woman looked at me when I was making change. She goes, "How fast did he get you going?" Apparently this was a thing. They were constantly doing it. I should have known better. I had a radar detector and I was spaced about 50 yards apart, but this guy was sitting on the downhill of an on-ramp and I just got picked off because I was pretty much the head dude. Everybody behind me saw me get pulled over. They slowed down and they went around me, so I got the ticket. Probably goes without saying that a high-quality radar detector is a must. If you're buying your radar detectors on eBay, plan on getting a ticket and plan on bringing plenty of cash for bail. The Waze app for your phone is a great thing to have. As a matter of fact, it's a must. It's an app that alerts you to traffic conditions and the presence of cops in real time. Please, for the love of God, if you're going to do it, have that on. Two-way radios or a group chat app is a good idea also. That way you guys can monitor what everybody else is saying ahead of you and behind you. Having a police scanner app is also another good idea, so you can understand who's being called to where in the regions, and basically it helps you know when to whoa and when to go. And speaking of apps, you're going to want to download the Off the Record ticket app. If you do get a ticket on your rally, just take a photo of the ticket, load it to the app, and an attorney in that area will get working on your case even before your rally is over, and has like a 90-something% success rate. And they're one of my sponsors. And as I mentioned, it's probably a good idea to bring plenty of cash for bail or ticket fines. In a lot of states, because you're an out-of-state resident, you're going to have to give cash bail for them to let you go, and then you can fight the ticket later. So you need to have cash. You can't pay by check or credit card. In some states, you literally have to pay the ticket on the side of the road and deposit the cash into a sealed envelope that goes right into a steel lockbox inside the cops' cars, which is exactly what I had to do when I got pulled over in Indiana. It would also be a good idea to have AAA roadside service. Everybody's got in the United States, we have AAA cards. It pays for membership. Get the premium one so you can get a tow for up to 100 miles. And it's probably a good idea to have a co-pilot who has some binoculars so he can look ahead to see the traffic conditions. And if you've got a co-pilot that is not working as a co-pilot, boot him out. He sucks. I'm not suggesting that everyone should sign up for a rally thinking that it's a race, because it's absolutely not. And it's not a free-for-all. The event promoters will tell you this over and over and over again. As in any other case, if you break the law, there are consequences. So I'm not suggesting you do any of that. I'm just telling you what you're in for and the realities of it and what my own experiences were. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite about this. I've been on several road rallies, and each time I told myself going in that I would take it easy and just cruise, okay? The problem is you get out on the interstate, even the average civilian is doing 80 miles an hour. And so while my intent was to find a rabbit doing something like 90 miles per hour and then sit about a quarter mile behind that person, speeds just start to creep up over the miles, and especially when you're doing a 6-day event. Before you know it, you're doing 100 miles an hour as the base speed. And despite my reasonable intentions, I found myself well into triple digits several times because we were in the middle of nowhere. No other cars, no trucks, no civilians, no side roads, no access points, nothing. So doing 130 miles out there was nothing. But when you do this, you're still taking risk. You have to remember, inherently, rallies are dangerous affairs, even for expert drivers when you mix in the civilian population, right? And there have been many famous accidents. During the Gumball 3000 rally back in 2012, one dude rolled his Ferrari 3 times and flew over a fence. He came over a crest at 150, went up over a fence and rolled 3 times. How did it happen? He was going way too fast on an unfamiliar road. Somehow he walked away from that car, but as the video shows, this car was destroyed. I mean, they had to sweep that thing up. And supposedly this guy was like a pretty good driver, but when you're doing that kind of stuff on an unfamiliar road, it's just taking everybody's life into your hands. And of course, it wasn't the first major incident on a Gumball rally. We all remember what happened when there was a fatality on the Gumball rally back in 2007, which I think it was in Macedonia. At least one person died, and the event was immediately terminated by the promoter, Maximilian Cooper, which I think was probably a good idea. Just shut the thing down so people have no other excuse to speed. You gotta remember, these event organizers are not legally responsible for your actions, and so it's kind of just a weird deal, and it's just the way it is. Even the Gold Rush Rally, which is basically here in the United States, an event that was started in 2009, has seen several crashes. Some of them by their own co-owner of the rally, Ben Chen. If you don't know that name, you haven't been watching any of the news media in the last 8 years. The first one in 2013, which was spectacular when Ben turned a McLaren 12C Spider into scrap metal. They cleaned that thing up with a plastic bag and a broom. In 2016, Ben was at it again. He was denied entry into a car show for douchey driving and bad behavior, and proceeded to throw a little tantrum and a hissy fit. And as he drove away, getting all sideways, he smacked into, what? A curb. In front of dozens of onlookers. He promptly stuffed his beautiful Murcielago LP670-4 SV and hit a curb. Maybe the curb just jumped right out in front of him or what. It was covered in the press. So he was being that guy, the stereotypical rich kid, right? One news outlet had this to say: maybe Ben should stop being allowed to drive supercars because he's destroyed plenty of them. I think a lot of people will agree with that. Then there's this one. This one wasn't all that long ago. What? How in the wide, wide world of sports do you crash while going in a straight line on an empty road and the only thing moving on the whole street is you? Bro, get a Camry. Allegedly, Ben has single-handedly destroyed tens of millions of dollars worth of cars, not just the ones that still live on the internet. And just judging from these few videos, we'd see that it's probably pretty close. But Ben's roster of wrecked cars includes many other cars that you haven't seen here in your video. He also totaled a Bugatti Veyron 16.4 Super Sport, a Mansory Mercedes SLR, and an Audi R8. Photos and videos of all those wrecks were allegedly scrubbed from the luxury foreplay forums that he partially owned, thanks to generous payouts by Mr. Chen. But I saw the Bugatti photos with my own eyes. I know about that accident. I know the details. The thing of it is Mr. Chen has inherited a lot of money and he has put it to good use buying crazy cars so he can surely afford a good legal team to keep him out of jail. What baffles a lot of people is how does this guy still have a driver's license? But it shows you got money, you can talk your way out of anything, right? But during my experience on Gold Rush and Bull Run, there were crashes on both of those rallies, as I just said. It just happens. So before you go sign up on a road rally and think that you'll be driving cross country at triple digits, you need to remember that there's a fair share of type A personalities with big pockets, big egos, and little talent and something else, maybe a little. Fortunately, there are enough good people who go on these rallies to make every event pretty special. And that certainly makes these events well worth the money. I've had great experiences on rallies and I would highly recommend them, but I understand that for some people, the pricing is often a barrier of entry. I get it. Prices will seem high for some people who maybe bought their crypto at the wrong time. So if you're one of the people who just can't justify spending tens of thousands of dollars in entry fees to go on a rally that's basically a drive across country, here's how to go on a road rally for free. You ready? Write this down. Just show up. All of these road rallies take place on public roads. The organizers cannot make you go away. They cannot tell you to stop following them. You can simply tag along and follow their route. Now, you can't get into their private parties or private events that they've set up, but you can follow them all the way across the country. And there's an advantage to doing it this way. Your car won't have all the sponsor stickers all over it, so you'll be invisible to the police. You're just going to look like a civilian car driving near the rally kind of thing, depending on how you're driving, of course. But you kind of fly under the radar while all these guys put a target on their backs. So you can do this and drive along, take pictures, shoot videos, and so on, and hopefully share your videos on YouTube and other social media channels to share it with the world, right? Pretty good idea, right? You can even book your stay at the same hotels that they're going to. Now, you won't get invited to the cool parties that are run by the event organizers, but remember this, many of these parties are at clubs that are still open to the public because the event promoters aren't going to buy out the club. It's just too much money. So you can go in like any other guest. Maybe you can't sit at their special table or follow their special women or whatever the deal is, but you're going to be in the same place. And of course, you probably won't be very popular with the organizers, but there's not a thing they can do about it. You're in a public space, they're in a public space, you can be there. Tough duty. Although one event organizer did try to get rid of these guys, on one event there was an instance where some bloggers were tagging along on a rally without paying. The event organizer told them that their video and pictures cannot be published because the event logo is trademarked or copyrighted or some such nonsense. This guy was apparently a law student or something, and he'll remain nameless, but he basically told the promoter that as long as the rally participants are driving on public roads, the promoter had no right to privacy or copyright protection for what amounts to news coverage. He was absolutely right. And the discussion got heated. The blogger then went on to explain to the promoter that the story he was going to write would happen one of two ways. Either he could pitch it like reckless outlaws take chances with other people's lives on public roads, or number two, rally participants tour the western states on a fun run for charity. So which would you prefer, Mr. Promoter? That was the end of that conversation, and the blogger went about his business and followed us around for days, and he wasn't bothered again. Bottom line, you can absolutely roll with any rally that travels along public roads. If you're young and you just can't swing the entry fees, this might be the way to go. But if I'm being honest, if you truly want that once-in-a-lifetime experience that can only come from being an actual part of an actual rally, you should really consider doing one when you have the money and the time to do it. One last tip, if you go on a rally, your dash cam, your mobile phone, and onboard cameras and GoPros and so forth can all be used for evidence in court. And if you watch enough videos on YouTube, you know how that's played out for a couple of people. That's it for this time, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Happy motoring.